Good morning, friends. Now, today we are taking the science chapter of the 7th class, and the chapter name is the living world, adaptation and classification. Firstly, we have discussed about the living world. Living world means all living things are. Those are the plants, animals, microorganisms. So many. Those are have the grow, develop, movement are known as the livings. And these living things, they adapt some characters. The chapter we have discussed today. In what different ways the diversity in living things is? In the environment, in the living world, that so many organisms are living there. And these organisms are as differ to each other. Why? Why they are the differ from each other? Main reason is the organism find growing, developing, multiplication at the particular habitat at that time. They adapt some characters because they live there. They adapt some characters. Those characters are available in the particular habitat. These conditions are observed in the particular habitat and they accept and they survive. It is known as simply adaptation. A great variety of the plants is found on the earth. Some plants have the colorful flower, some plants grow in water, whereas some are to be found in the desert which have the scarcity of water. Means that when we observe outside of the earth's surrounding, then we will be the variety of the plants observed. Some plants are the big, some plants are the small, some plants are the so big. Some plants having the flower, colorful flowers, and some plants are not seeing the flowers. Some plants having the legumes. Legumes means fruits. But fruits are the different. And some plants having the different types of the fruits and different colors. These are the variation. Why these are the variation is observed in the particular plants? Means they adapt the characters. That's why they looks like the differ from each other. They looks like the differ from each other. Some plants are found in only snowy region. Some plants cannot be seen without microscope. Now, some plants are only growing in the snowy regions. Snowy regions means there the snow is falling always and continuously. At that region, the modification of the plants takes place in this area because always snow falls down, therefore not favorable conditions like the terrestrial plants are not growing there. Therefore, they adapt some characters where which areas means snowy regions areas always falling the snowy. Therefore, they adapt some characters. Adapt means अनुकूल करणे, adapt करणे, स्वीकारणे, त्याला म्हणायचं आपण adaptations. They adapt the character. Why they adapt characters? Because they survive there. Otherwise, they cannot live. Each and every person or each and every organisms, when they are living in the particular area, particular habitat, they want to survive there. There must be changes, some characters. Because otherwise, these habitat, these environments ejected to us. Now today's condition is we have observed everywhere. Now coronavirus is growing very much at that period. Then we cannot use the mask, our nose, our face. Then what will be happen? Definitely you know very well about the when we are not using this mask. Means in that habitat, some habitat change. In that habitat some changes is also occurred, and these changes you cannot accept, then this habitat you have to reject it. Therefore, we have to survive in that habitat. That's why we are now using the mask. Like that, in a snowy region, the organisms like to grow there. Then what will be there? The conditions of the snowy regions always following the snow. In that environment, they want to live, they want to grow, they want to survive. That's why they adapt the changes in the area there. The plants are the spiny in nature, like the deodar, and spiny like this different types of the plants. Those are the spiny in nature. Those are the long, and the leaves are erected toward the downward position toward the soil. Like these characters they adapted. Another is some plants found in only snowy regions. Some plants cannot see without microscope, whereas some are the hug insects. Previous part we are the go toward the first period, first era of the when the organisms are growing, when the organisms are developing at that period. That time, the multicellular and unicellular organisms we are the very well known about them. But the previous period, when the living organisms are, when the living world are developing period, that time the unicellular microorganisms are developed there. And these unicellular microorganisms as well as the organisms are definitely microscopic in nature, because it is a previous period. They cannot grow fastly. They adapt the characters because in that period only environment is there, like the air, water, but organisms are not found. In that period, the unicellular microorganisms are there. They adapt character, and now it become the large number and large in size of the different types of the organisms, different types of the plants and animals. Like the human body also, these are one of the evoluted body, because our origin is the gorilla. Like that, previous period, the unicellular organisms are there, and these are the microscopic in nature. But nowadays, this type of the organisms are now found, as well as some hug trees are observed, plants are we have to observe in the nature, because they adapt the characters, they develop them, and they increasing the characteristics, because they want to live, they want to survive in the particular habitat. That's why they are the living there. Then animals to show the diversity. Some are unicellular, other multicellular. Some are vertebrates, where other are invertebrates. Means that from that origin, adaptation takes place, evolution is developed, changes are observed, and then variety of the living things, variety of the living organisms are observed. Those particular organisms adapt the characters fastly, they increase, they develop, and those organisms cannot pick up these characteristics for the living particular habitat. They stay on this position. Therefore, the variations occurs in the environment. Therefore, they found in some are unicellular, some are the multicellular, some are the vertebrates, and some are the invertebrates. In this world, we are full of variety of animals: aquatic, terrestrial, amphibian, and reptiles. Now, when a part of the first period, after that, they adapt the characters, and those plants, those animals, those living worlds, those living organisms are living a particular area, they adapt the characters, and therefore they survive they develop their area, and like that area they known as the, some plants and animals are living in the aquatic portion are known as, these animals and plants are the aquatic plants and aquatic animals. Some are the living in the terrestrial surface of the earth, plants as well as growing them, animals also growing them. Therefore, these plants and animals are known as the terrestrial animals and terrestrial plants. Some are the amphibian. Now, condition is observed in the amphibian plants and organisms. In the period of the rainy season, the water molecules, water portion is amount is large. Therefore, they survive in the water. But after the summer season, the water scarcity. Water is completely goes toward the finish. Then they want to survive. They like to survive. They must survive. Therefore, they adapt the characters. And this type of the both organisms having the both character, they can live as well as the they can live in the water as well as the surface of the earth. These animals as well as the plants are known as the amphibians. Some are the reptiles, snakes-like organisms are known as the reptiles, and these are the one of the category, one of the organisms are living, and this condition is known as the reptiles. Some are aerial. हवेमध्ये उंच भरारी मारणारे काही प्राणी असतात. ज्यावेळेस भक्ष पाहिजे असतात त्याच वेळेस ते पृथ्वीवर येतात. They adapt the character. They having the wings and they fly. Therefore, these organisms are known as the aerial. Then, how do you get diversity come into the being? Now, tell me that. Then, how diversity? This great diversity come into this being. In the organisms, this diversity is how is created. Previous minute we have discussed about this, all these things. This means they adapt the character and they survive, and therefore the diversity is observed. Differences are observed in the particular organisms. Are the plants and animals from the Kashmir and Rajasthan of the same type? No. Some minutes we have discussed about the Kashmir area. In that area, always falling the snow. In that area, the different plants and animals are observed there. But in the Rajasthan, there also means the Kashmiri animals are not compared to the Rajasthan plants and animals, because the environment is so different, so difference in between them. Therefore, the characters also adapted some of these organisms in the Kashmir and the Rajasthan. In the Rajasthan, the scarcity is observed in the area of the Rajasthan. Water molecules is not found. There the sand is only one there. Therefore, each and every organisms for the survival they need the water. But in the Rajasthan, the water is not there. Therefore, they adapt the characters. Therefore, in between the Kashmir and the Rajasthan, the plants and animals are so different to each other. In the Kashmir, conifers like the pines and deodar furnish in the snowy region like the Kashmir desert of the Rajasthan. In the Rajasthan, desert plants are there. Plants like the cactus, acacia, babul. In the terrestrial surface also, the acacia plants are observed. Another name is the babul. These plants are so big as well as so small also. Babuls plants are observed in our areas, our habitat. But in the Rajasthan, the babul plants means acacia number of the babul plants is always so small, because the scarcity of the animals or plants and animals having the water molecules, therefore they cannot grow fastly. But some changes is observed in those plants are growing in the Rajasthan are to be found. The camel is a desert animal. Now some changes are observed in our areas. animals having some changes. Looks like camel is not look like that, because the characters are adapted. The camel in the Rajasthan area, because the sandy portion is there, water molecules are not observed. In few times in a year, the water falls down, therefore they collect the water, therefore they store the water in our body, therefore the sand is there. In the air floating, that time the molecules of the sands mixing with the air, and these sand molecules are goes into the eyes, therefore they covered eyelids are observed in the Rajasthani animals like the camels. Is not found in the Kashmir. What is the reason for this difference? The difference between the Rajasthan and the Kashmir. In that Kashmir animals are having so many hairs. In that Rajasthan's animals they cannot the hairs also, but some changes. These legs are the big, the storage cavity in the body of the Rajasthan's animals is big. They store the water portion in that body, and this type of the difference in between the Rajasthan plants and animals as well as the Kashmir plants and animals. Now, actually definition we are very clear about the adaptation. Gradually changes occur in the body. Gradually, सातत्याने बदल घडणं occurs in body parts and also in the behavior. वर्तनात सुद्धा बदल. वर्तन ज्या अधिवासात आपण राहत असतो त्या अधिवासामध्ये जगण्यासाठी आपल्यामध्ये बदल करून घ्यावा लागतो. जर बदल करून घेतला तर आपण त्या अधिवासात तग धरू शकू, नाहीतर तो अधिवास आपल्याला काय करून टाकतो, कालबाह्य करून टाकतो, आपल्याला त्यातून रिजेक्ट करू शकतो. म्हणून ज्या अधिवासात आपण राहतो त्या अधिवासात राहत असताना आपल्यामध्ये सातत्याने बदल करून घेणे शरीराच्या अवयवामध्ये सुद्धा as well as in the behavior of the organism, त्याचबरोबर आपल्या वर्तनामध्ये which helps to the adjust their surroundings. आणि त्यामुळे काय होतं, आपल्या वर्तनातील बदल, आपल्या जगण्यातील बदल, ज्या ठिकाणी ज्या अधिवासात राहत आहोत त्या अधिवासातील असणाऱ्या मुबलक गोष्टींचा वापर करून आपल्या शरीरामध्ये जो बदल करून घेतला जातो आणि बदल करून घेतल्यानंतर which helps them to adjust their surrounding, such changes are called adaptations. आणि अशा प्रकारच्या त्या सराउंडिंग मुळे आपल्यामध्ये बदल करून घेतलेल्या गोष्टीलाच किंवा होणाऱ्या बदलालाच आपण ॲडॅप्टेशन म्हणतो, त्याला आपण अनुकूलन असे म्हणतो. स्मॉल एक्झाम्पल, now we have taken the another examples. Some birds are the previous period they are living in the terrestrial surface, but they cannot get the food for eating purpose. Then they goes toward water and they survive there. And these birds' name is a duck. Nowadays, the duck's habitat is the water. At that time, when the ducks are entering in the water particle for the survival, water portion for the survival, that time they have not the food webs, means या त्यांच्या पायांच्या पुढच्या 3 बोटांमध्ये पडदे. What will be the swim? They adapt the characters when they are the living. They sacrifice and they develop the waves and they survive. Like that, another examples. Lotus are living in the watery places. They are when living in that area, the waxy portion on the leaves, stems, or roots, therefore they survive in the water portions. Okay. Now we have the calculate the one table. In that table, firstly plants, lotus habitat. These lotus are present always developed as well growing in the aquatic portion. Therefore, the lotus plants are known as the aquatic plants. types of the roots, fibers, characteristic of the leaves. The leaves are the large because they have to float the surface area of the water. They can easily float, therefore the changes is occurs in the leaves, and the leaves are the large in size and the round with the waxy layer. On that, the large leaves, the waxy layer is covered on the total lower portion as well as the upper portion of the leaves. And another characteristics of the stems, hollow and flexible. They flexible because these lotus plants are the habitat of the lotus plants is aquatic. In that aquatic area, the water portion is more. Therefore, the good survive. The stem is flexible. When the water current is go fast, at that time they bends, and again after that the water current is stop, then they straighten. As well as the hollow is focal because they survive, they float on the watery places. Therefore, the characteristics of the stem is hollow and the flexible. For example, another two, cactus and the onion, it is your homework. You have to find out and write there the habitat of the aquatic, types of the fiber, types of the roots. There is the different types of the roots. Out of that, the cactus and banyan plants having these types of the roots, you have to write them. And characteristics of the leaves also, you have to find out, you have to observe these different types of the trees and write down there. The characteristics of stems also you have to observe and write down. And after that, your completions, your homework is completed. Now, we are going to discuss about the adaptation in the aquatic plants. Now, first, in that, the living world, adaptation and classification. First subtopic is adaptation in aquatic plants. Means what? Those plants are growing in a aquatic portion, aquatic region. They plants have the adaptation characters, and these characters means adaptation of the aquatic plants. Firstly, they adapt the characters and they survive there. Therefore, we have to visit various water bodies such as the lakes, ponds, river, and other things where will be the you have to found the water. You have to go there and you have to observe the surroundings, areas from the water surfaces. What differences do you observe between the terrestrial and aquatic plants? Now, when we are going toward the watery places, that time you have to go toward the terrestrial surfaces. In that area, you have to observe the different types of the plants growing on the terrestrial surfaces. When you enter in the aquatic places, then you have to observe the different types of the plants also growing in the aquatic area. But the both of these plants, those plants are growing on the terrestrial surface. These plants are differ from those plants are growing in the aquatic area. Why these are the observed the difference between the plants in the terrestrial animals as well as the aquatic terrestrial plants as well as the aquatic plants? Because previously these plants are the same in characters, same structures, same functions, but they adapt the characters because they are the living in the aquatic areas. They want to survive their aquatic areas, therefore they adapt the characters and they survive there. Some of the aquatic plants are firmly rooted in the soils. Which type of the adapters, the characters, those plants are growing in aquatic area. They adapt the aquatic plants are acquired the character. Aquatic plants are firmly rooted in the soil at the bottom of the water bodies. Panacha, surface area, submerged portion. The surface area and the bottom, in between these areas, in that areas also the roots are there, the plant stems are there, some plants are growing in between these places. Some plants are growing the bottom area of the aquatic areas, and these roots are firmly rooted. Then while leaves of the flower float on the surface. their stems are submerged. Those plants are aquatic in nature. These plants are stems is submerged. They are in the water like the ship. While leaves and flower float on the surface, however, some plants are centrally afloat. Their roots are not anchored in the soil. Those plants, aquatic plants, they are the submerged plants. They are not growing on the bottom of the aquatic areas. They are in between the surface area and the bottom areas. These roots are not anchored. ते घट्ट पकडून सैला धरू शकत नाही because they are the water portions. The surface of the leaves and stem of the many aquatic plants are covered with the waxy layers. Those plants are growing, developing, surviving on the water portion, in the water portion, below the water portion. They are definitely covering the waxy layer for the survival. And this waxy layer is the adaptations characters are found in the aquatic plants. Leaves of some aquatic plants and thin cylinder-like or a ribbon-like means पानांची रचना means leaves like the ribbon-like. Small babies when they entering the schools, they cannot fit the tie long time. They uses the ribbon for the proper uses. And this shaped structure of the leaves in aquatic plants are the cylinder or the ribbon-like. The shape helps them to withstand fast current of the water. आणि त्यांच्या रचनेचा त्यांना कोणता फायदा होतो? ज्या वेळेस पाणी पुष्कळ प्रमाणामध्ये वाहू जात असतं त्यावेळेस ते हॉलो स्टीम आणि फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी असल्यामुळे ते वाकून काय करतात पाण्याच्या प्रवाहाला पुढे जाऊ देतात. Air spaces in the stems and petioles of the aquatic plants are used for floating in the water. They adapt the character in the stems, in the leaves, in the petioles, aquatic plants leaves, and therefore they survive there. Another topics we have taken now, the adaptation in the desert plant. Now we have discussed about those plants are growing in the Rajasthan area. These plants are known as the desert plants. Take the two potted plants, means we have to take the two plants. One plant is like those these plants are growing in the Rajasthan areas, and another we have to take on the another plants. Those plants are growing over areas, terrestrial surfaces, and you have to take two pots. Then you have to cover them the bags and tie loosely. Put on the sun portion for the photosynthesis. After that 2 days we have to observe, you have to remove this cover bags and you have to count the bags. Some plants, one potted plants having the small amount of the water and another is so large as compared to the first one. Why it is there? Because those plants are growing in the desert areas. The capacity developed due to the sun rays falls down the leaves. The water molecules not removing these stems because the layer of the stems, layer of the leaves are so big in size, therefore the water particles is not found in the desert plants. In the afternoon we those pots in the classroom and observe them. Have the same quantity of the water collected to the wood bags? No, definitely no. Desert plants either leafless or their leaves are like small needles or have seen modified. Those plants are growing in the desert areas, they modify. safely.